Hello everyone. Today in this video we're going to be learning how to graph linear equations in slope-intercept form. We are also going to be learning the different parts of this equation. So let's get started. Here we have an equation where we would need to graph it. I'll actually turn that off because Desmos automatically generates a graph and we don't want that. But if it didn't give a graph and we only had this equation, the first thing we would do to solve it is we would have to look at the y-intercept. Now, how do you find the y-intercept? The y-intercept can be found at looking at this b variable, right? So, in slope-intercept form, the general form for it is y equals mx plus b. And obviously this equation fits it. But the intercept would be found in this b, which is 2 in this case. But remember, the intercept is not a number, it's a coordinate. So, since it's intersecting the y-axis, x has to be 0. So we would have 0, 2. We can label that as our y-intercept. Okay. So we got our first part done. Now what? Now we need to look at the slope of the equation. And the slope, as you can see here, is 3. So we would have to do rise over run and plot the other points using the slope. So how we would do this is, if it's 3, then we would have 3 over 1. So whenever we go up 3, we would go over 1. So let's start plotting those. So if we go up 3 over 1, that would be 1, and it would actually be here because 5. But anyways, that would be 1, and if we go up 3, which is here, we go up 1, we go over 1, this would be our point, which would be 1, 5. So let's plot that. And we can also plot another one. So this is point A. You can also plot 2, and we have 5 here, so we could do 2 and 8. We do 2 and 8. And we could also go down because 3, 1 also means -3 and -1 because they both mean the same thing. We go down 3, like back 1, then we will have -1, 1. -1, -1. So if you can see here, these all 4 are in a straight line. If we drew a line from any of the 2 points, we could see that they would form a straight line. And to graph this, we would just connect the dots or points and we would have a line. So if we actually graphed it, we would have y equals 3x plus 2. Now, in this equation, there are several parts that make it up. So the first part is the y. The y is basically the output. Whenever you input something, which is the x, which is another part, whenever you input x and do all these operations, you will get y. So x is the input and y is the output. Now, the coefficient of x is going to be the slope. So, as we saw in the previous example, as we saw when we were graphing it, we saw that the slope was 3. So the coefficient in slope-intercept form is basically the slope. Now this 2 over here is basically kind of like the y-intercept. It helps us find the y-intercept, except it's not like totally y-intercept because 2 is not coordinate. But still, it would still be the b in this equation and would help us graph this equation. So I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you learn how to graph linear equations and all the parts in the linear equations. And the reason why it's called slope-intercept is obviously there's a slope and the intercept. So thank you for watching.